Hey everyone, this is Suresh. We are going to learn about IndexedDB in this video tutorial. Uh, Let me go here. Okay, so uh, how you are going to get the IndexedDB object? Window.indexedDB. That's going to give you the IndexedDB object. What happens internally? The IndexedDB uh, is going to implement an interface called IDB factory. Okay. The IDB factory would have a bunch of methods, namely open, database, and compare. So whenever you call window.indexedDB, you are going to get all these methods back in that object. Uh, you can see here the open method would have two parameters. One is name and another one is unsigned long version. Okay, so mm it's from the name itself you can find out this method is used to uh, open a DB, or if the DB doesn't exist with that given name, then it's going to create one for you. And there is a version. If you give the version in that open method, then it's going to uh, create a new DB with that version. If you don't, if the DB is already existing, then it's going to upgrade the existing DB version if it is needed. If it is the same version, it's not going to upgrade. If it is the version number is more than what is there currently in the browser, then it's going to update. The next one is the delete database. It's very simple. You just give the name of the database. If that exists in the browser, it's going to delete it. And compare is used for comparing the keys that we would see it later. Now, so window.indexedDB would give you IDB factory, right? That has few methods. What is our next goal? We just need to create a DB in the browser. Okay, so this is what happens. What I'm trying to do here, I'm just trying to use an open method and passing a DB name called CSS frameworks. In this case, for the first time, whenever we make this request, the DB doesn't exist. So the browser is going to create a DB for us. And I would like to stress one more point here. Uh, the application is a requester, and the browser is going to be a responder. I don't want to call it as a server. Let's call it as a responder. So whenever the application requests anything to the index DB, the responder is going to uh, respond you back asynchronously. That means uh, the application requests something to the responder. The responder says that, hey, keep these event handlers, and you do other things. I'll let you know once I'm done with your request. Then the browser is going to trigger the event handler. That's how the application will come to know what happened, whether it is succeeded or failed or something else happened, right? Okay, what happens when we try to open a DB? Internally, this is going to return an IDB open DB request object, because this open, when you try to open DB, it's going to implement an interface called IDB open DB request that has two methods in it, on blocked and on upgrade needed. At the same time, that is going to implement another interface called IDB request. That IDB request has a bunch of properties and methods. You can see it over here. uh, so all these methods will be sent back to the request object, right? In our case, when I try to do idb.open css frameworks, the request variable which I have would have all these methods and the properties in it. Then from the application, I'm going to listen on all these event handlers. You can see it over here. On success, uh, that's an event handler. on error is an event handler. So I would be listening on all those to get the state of or the result of the request. Let's see the demo now. Okay, this is my dev environment. Let me open up one more pane, and I'm going to serve this folder called IndexedDB using node server. You can use any server. You can put it in your localhost, um, Apache or anything. That's totally fine. Let me start this one. It's running on port 4000, and HTTPS is 4443. Let me go to the browser, hit this URL. Yeah, you can see that page is being served by the node server from that folder which I have shown you before. Now let's see. Oh, so this is the this is the origin. The example.com colon 4000 is the origin for this document, and let's see, is there any IndexedDB. You just open up your Chrome dev tool, click on application, and on the left hand side you can see a bunch of storage mechanisms, and here there is an IndexedDB. Click on it and refresh it. You don't see anything because this is the first time we are trying to mm, uh, open up this page for this domain. There is nothing, there is no database created. Let's create the database. This is what I have shown you in that slide. Now let me log this part and go to console log, refresh it. You can see that it returned IDB factory object, because that's what it was trying to implement, right? And you can see the compare object method, delete database method, open method. So these all are part of standard. There is something called webkit get database names. This is not in the standard. It is in the Chrome webkit. Maybe it's going to be part of the standard, but not right now. As of now, as of today, it's not. Now now we know that the next one is that I'm going to use uh, the open method to open a DB, right? CSS frameworks. mm, Now let me print the request. Before that, let me show here, before refreshing the page, I'll refresh the DB. See, the DB is not created, right? Because just now I have added open and I haven't refreshed the page. Now let me hit and refresh the page. Now I have refreshed it, and now go here and refresh the DB as well. You can see that the DB is created, and here you would see the DB name CSS frameworks, which is created under this origin, and you can see the version number is 1, and there's the name of the DB, security origin. Pretty cool. You come here and see what happened. Let me close that. Okay. You can see I've got IDB open DB request back, because that's what I was trying to do, right? When I was trying to open a DB, it was trying to implement the IDB OpenDB request, right? And that internally implements another interface called IDB request. That's what we have seen. So initially you get only these, okay, and it said that, hey, take this, the ready state is pending. That means the operation, the opening operation is pending, uh, but you can listen on all the methods which I'm giving you. Okay, uh, so this is what you have got. When the ready state is done, that means when the operation is done, then it's going to uh, give you this result. In our case, we are trying to open a DB, so it has IDB database object. Mm. Then the error property is null, and there is one more event handler. There are actually few event handlers. The on error event handler is null, on success is null, uh, on upgrade needed is null. Okay, but this is the state which you would get it. Okay. Mm. You have to listen on this one, then you'll get to know what happened exactly. Let's see how it is. Let's try to listen on success. Okay, success, and same thing for on error. Then there is one more event handler which I have told you already. mm, on upgrade needed, right? Upgrade needed. Now I'm just going to refresh this page. Let me remove this part. I have saved my browser, clear this. I'm going to refresh the page. If you look at it, it is logging only the success case, right? And it hasn't gone through on upgrade needed because there is no upgrade happening right now. Why there is no upgrade? Because I'm not requesting the browser to upgrade my database. I haven't given any version number over there. So whenever you request, it's going to give you, it's going to trigger on success event handler. If you look at here, I haven't given any version. So ideally what happens by default, the version would be 0 uh, very first time. It's going to be 0. When I asked the client to the browser to create this database, it was 0, but it would triggered on upgrade needed. Oh, sorry. Okay, on upgrade needed. Even then it wouldn't have mm, triggered that. Let's refresh. See, you don't see it. So that's fine. The spelling mistake was okay. It was ignored. Now the version, I haven't mentioned any, I haven't given any version over here. By default, very first time it would be considered as 0. Then what happens, I was trying to create a CSS frameworks database. um, mm, it went to IDB open database, IDB open request interface. Then that implements IDB request interface. All this while happening, mm, it would look at the existing IndexedDB storage area under that particular domain. Then if it doesn't find anything, it's going to upgrade automatically. So this event will be triggered automatically for the first time, and at that time it will upgrade from 0 to 1. That's why you are seeing the version number 1. Okay, but if you manually give version number here, it's going to trigger this upgraded on upgrade needed event. um, then after this it's going to trigger success if it is success. Okay, if there is an error while creating a db, then it's going to trigger on error event handler. Let's see, let me clear this, refresh it. Do you see that on upgrade needed event was triggered? That's why it is logging this, and after that success event. You can go here and refresh this to see the version is upgraded. So now you have 0, no, now you have version 2, and remove this and refresh your page. This time only success is called. uh, there is no upgrade on upgrade needed event trigger. You have removed it, but how it is going to look at it, whenever you use um, open method, it's going to look at uh, the IndexedDB storage area for that particular domain. If it exits, then it's just going to, if it exits and there is no version mentioned, then it's going to just return it back. It's just going to use the existing database. If we don't give any version name, uh, then it is how it is going to work. So now we have seen this case, and I should print this object, request object. See success, and the error is null. mm, there is a function because this happened after that, and these event handlers are there, right? Ready state is done. What I'm trying to do is here, uh, the other thing is that you cannot you cannot downgrade the version. Yeah, now if I say 1, I'm just downgrading the version from 2 to 1. Let's see what happens. Let me refresh. It says failed. You can see it over here. It says failed. Failed, that means it triggered this on error event handler. So you didn't go to on upgrade needed or on success event handler. It triggered this one. And one more thing happened. There is an error property that is set, that is set with detailed information. So in this case it is telling uh, the requested version 1 is less than the existing version. So you would get this error. This is a DOM exception, so oh, it's going to fail. Okay, and you can see the ready state is done because the operation is done, but it failed. That's what it means. And when it failed, the result will be undefined. Okay, any operation you do, if it fails, then the result will be undefined, and the error property would have the details, and on error event handler would be triggered at the same time. And the other thing is that you cannot set version 0. Okay, uh, save this one. Let's start from the beginning. I go here, I clear the entire IndexedDB for this domain. I cleared it, right? You don't see it over there. Now I'm from the beginning, I'm trying to open a DB with CSS frameworks, but I'm setting the version as 0. Let's see what happens. See, that's an error. You cannot set a version 0 because that's a default version. If you may not give it, if you don't give any version, then it's going to uh, uh, if it is the first time, then it's going to upgrade to 1 by itself. but you cannot give 0, that you should know. And is that this part. So let's see what happens, during the error condition. Let me refresh this. Yeah, that's going to break. So let me create an error in this way. I'm setting up, I have upgraded. See, you can see the initial, you can give any version, so it doesn't need to start from 1. I have given 2. Now I want to create an error, so I'm downgrading. I know that I'm going to get an error message, and on error event handler is going to be triggered by the browser. Say it got triggered, it failed, and it's printing something. And you can see here, this event is the error event. This is going to bubble, right? It's going to go up in that propagation path. I So this is while opening up, you get this bubbling. Not sure why it is happening. So I have just raised an issue with W3C, and they have created, but discussion is going on. Let's see what happens with that. There is no point in having bubbling with in this case while opening a database, because there is no propagation path. That is the first one, right? um, I'll let you know later, what is the propagation path, but just wanted to share with you all. This is all about opening up a DB. I'll get into other details in my next video tutorials. Thank you so much, guys. Please subscribe to my channel